Most of us are so excited about our dreams that we announce them before we even start working on them. And then we wonder, why did things not go the way we planned? Every time you talk too much about what you're going to do, you actually drain the energy that was meant to make it happen. Think about it. How many times have we felt a surge of excitement after setting a new goal? Maybe you finally decided to start that business, get fit, write a book, or learn something new. The moment the idea takes birth in your heart, it's full of energy, full of life, full of divine momentum. But the instant we start sharing it with everyone, telling friends, family, colleagues, posting it on social media, something happens. The energy that was meant to move you into action gets scattered into words, opinions, and reactions. You start explaining, defending, justifying, or glorifying the dream instead of silently building it. That spark that was supposed to ignite consistent effort now gets diluted in conversation. It's like when you open a bottle of perfume. The fragrance is strongest when it's sealed. But the more you open it, the more it loses its essence. Our dreams are the same. They lose their intensity when they are exposed too early. In ancient wisdom traditions, silence was not just a virtue, it was a discipline. People practiced silence to preserve energy, focus, and inner strength. When you talk too much about your next step, you unknowingly allow others' energies, their doubts, jealousy, fears, or even well-meaning advice to influence your clarity. Their words start shaping your mindset. Suddenly, what was once a powerful vision begins to feel confusing and heavy because it's now mixed with 10 different opinions. When you keep your next move to yourself, something magical happens. The energy stays pure. The motivation remains internal. You don't need validation, you don't crave approval. You wake up every day knowing you're working on something sacred, something between you and your creator, between you and your purpose. Silence gives your dream a sacred space to grow, away from noise, judgment, and unnecessary comparisons. Many successful people follow this principle deeply. They don't announce their plans, they announce their results. They don't talk about what they're going to do next. They let their actions surprise everyone. It's not arrogance, it's wisdom. Because when you keep your plans private, you're not only protecting your energy, you're protecting your peace. You're not giving anyone the power to discourage you or drain your focus. You're saying to yourself, I'll talk when I'm done. I'll speak through results. And the truth is, silence isn't weakness. Silence is strength under control. Silence is energy being saved for execution. Silence is your confidence saying, I don't need to prove anything right now. I'll show it when the time is right. When you learn to preserve that energy, your actions become sharper, your vision becomes clearer, and your results become louder, because energy flows where attention goes. And if your attention goes into speaking, very little remains for doing. So, the next time you feel the urge to announce your plan, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I talking to share my progress, or am I talking to feel progress? There's a big difference. Talking gives temporary satisfaction, doing gives real transformation. Don't let words steal the fuel meant for your actions. Guard your energy. Protect your focus. Let your silence create strength. And when your results finally speak, they'll be so powerful that you won't have to say a single word. The world will say it for you. Not everyone clapping for you is truly happy for you. This is one of the hardest truths to accept in life, yet one of the most liberating when understood deeply. We live in a world where applause can be deceiving. Sometimes the loudest cheer is not admiration, it's curiosity, it's calculation, it's someone trying to measure your next step to see how they can get ahead of you or even use it against you. You see, human nature is complex. Not everyone has the capacity to genuinely celebrate another person's progress without comparing it to their own. When you share your next move, you unknowingly invite comparison, envy, and sometimes subtle resistance from people who secretly wish to see you stumble, not because they hate you, but because your movement reminds them of their stillness. Have you ever noticed that when you start progressing in life, certain people who once encouraged you start becoming distant? When you talk about your dreams, some faces light up while others grow quiet. That's not coincidence. People's reactions reveal their energy. Some people will genuinely cheer for you because your growth inspires them. Others will pretend to clap while silently hoping you don't go too far ahead. And then there are those who listen carefully, not to support you, but to collect information, to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and when you plan to do it. They'll remember your words not out of love, but out of strategy. Gaur Gopal Das often says that wisdom lies not in mistrusting everyone, but in discerning who deserves access to your inner world. Your dreams are delicate. When they're young, they're like newborn babies, needing warmth, care, and protection. If you hand your newborn dream to everyone who smiles at you, not everyone will hold it with love. Some will drop it, some will criticize how you're holding it, and some will even try to steal it. Sharing your next move with everyone is like inviting all kinds of energies, good, bad, confused, to influence your direction. That's why the wise stay selective. They know that the fewer people who know, the safer the mission remains. Remember, some people don't want to see you fail. They just don't want to see you do better than them. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's subconscious. When your growth reflects their stagnation, their ego feels threatened. So when you announce your plans, a business idea, a new job, a relationship, or even a spiritual goal, they may start subtly planting seeds of doubt in your mind. Are you sure it'll work? What if it fails? That's too risky. And little by little, your once clear vision gets clouded by others' fears. You start questioning yourself, not because your idea was wrong, but because you allowed too many voices to enter the sacred silence of your dream. Silence, therefore, becomes your armor. When people don't know your next step, they can't block it. When they can't predict your move, they can't manipulate your path. In chess, the master never reveals strategy before making the move. In life, it's the same. The more unpredictable you are, the more powerful you become. Sharing your next move gives people a map of your future. Staying quiet keeps them guessing and keeps you focused. You see, true strength doesn't come from proving your plans to others. It comes from executing them quietly and letting your success make the announcement. Real winners don't speak too soon, they let time and results do the talking. When your vision turns into action and your action into achievement, people will see it anyway. But the difference is, when they see it then, they can't stop it anymore. The move has already been made. The seed has already grown roots. You've already reached the point where their opinion no longer matters. So, never mistake applause for approval or smiles for support. Some claps echo sincerity, others echo jealousy. Learn to hear the difference. Protect your peace from disguised negativity. Let your silence be your shield and your consistency be your sword. Those who truly love you will understand your quietness. And those who don't will wonder what you're up to. That's exactly how it should be. Because mystery is not manipulation, it's wisdom. The less they know, the more they'll respect what you finally show. Silence builds strength in ways words never can. The world teaches us to speak, to express, to share, but few teach us the sacred art of being silent and allowing our actions to make the sound. There's a deep, almost mystical power in keeping quiet while you work, in allowing your dreams to grow unseen, untouched, and unjudged. You see, what grows in silence often becomes the strongest because it has faced no noise, no comparison, no external influence. Just like the roots of a tree grow deep in the dark soil, away from sunlight and attention, our strength too develops in those quiet spaces of self-discipline, patience, and focus. When you choose silence, you're not choosing isolation, you're choosing concentration. In silence, your mind gets clear, your purpose gets pure, and your energy becomes directed. Most people exhaust their energy trying to explain themselves to others. Why I'm doing this, what I'm planning, how it will happen. But those explanations don't make your dream any stronger. In fact, every time you try to justify your path to others, you're handing them pieces of your mental strength. You start living in reaction to their feedback instead of creation from your soul. Silence reverses that. It brings your power back home to where it belongs, inside you. Think of the most powerful forces in nature: the growth of mountains, the turning of the earth, the movement of oceans deep beneath the surface. All happen in silence. There's no noise, no announcement, no drama, yet their power shapes the world. Likewise, when you quietly keep building yourself, day by day, the transformation becomes unstoppable. People may not notice you today, but when your moment comes, your strength will be so evident that words won't be necessary. The loudest people often have the weakest foundations because noise is their substitute for depth. But silence is the language of those who are deeply rooted. Silence builds not only external strength, but also emotional stability. When you stop reacting to everything and everyone, you stop giving others control over your inner peace. You begin to hear your own intuition more clearly. You begin to trust yourself. When you're silent, you're not disconnected. You're connected to something deeper than conversation. You're connected to your purpose, your creator, and your own conscience. Gaur Gopal Das often says, in silence, we find answers that words can never deliver. When you cultivate silence, you stop needing validation and start focusing on evolution. But silence isn't easy in a world addicted to attention. We live in times where people feel incomplete unless their every move is broadcasted, where doing something quietly feels like doing nothing at all. Yet, true growth rarely happens in the spotlight. It happens in private moments of struggle. When you're up at night working while others sleep. When you're learning in solitude. When you're fighting your battles quietly without posting about them. That's where strength is forged, not in noise, but in stillness. Silence teaches you patience, and patience is the foundation of power. The more you practice silence, the stronger your self-control becomes. You stop speaking from impulse and start acting from intention. You stop oversharing, overreacting, over-explaining. Your silence confuses people, but that confusion protects you because no one can predict your next step. Silence gives you time to think, time to grow, and time to prepare. And when the moment finally comes to act or speak, your words carry weight, your decisions carry authority, and your presence carries peace. There's also a spiritual side to silence. When you're silent, you allow divine guidance to flow through you. The noise of the world blocks wisdom, silence invites it. Great minds, saints, and leaders throughout history spent years in silence, not because they had nothing to say, but because they wanted what they said to matter. They understood that true strength isn't in proving yourself every day, it's in building yourself quietly until your presence alone proves it. So, remember, this silence is not emptiness, it's preparation. It's where your character is built, your resilience is tested, and your clarity is born. Those who master silence don't need to show power, they radiate it. They don't chase validation, they attract respect. The world might overlook your silent effort now, but when your time comes, the same world will be in awe of how effortlessly you stood tall. Let your silence be the soil where your greatness takes root, and one day your results will bloom so beautifully that the same silence will turn into the loudest applause. Early praise kills hunger, a truth that most of us discover too late in life. It feels good, doesn't it, when someone compliments your idea before you even begin working on it? When a friend says, "That's brilliant," or when social media floods you with likes and comments after you announce your plans. For a brief moment, you feel accomplished, proud, validated. But what most people don't realize is that this early recognition, this applause before achievement, is a silent thief of motivation. It tricks the mind into believing that the job is already half done. The satisfaction that should come after success now comes before effort, and the hunger that drives you to push harder begins to fade away without you even noticing. Psychologists call it the illusion of progress. When we talk too much about our goals, our brain releases dopamine, the same feel-good chemical it releases when we actually achieve something. So when we tell people, "I'm going to start a business," "I'm going to lose weight," or "I'm going to write a book," the brain feels rewarded just for saying it. The applause and encouragement give us a false sense of completion, and subconsciously, we stop working with the same intensity. That's why so many dreams die right after they are announced, not because they weren't possible, but because they were over-celebrated too early. In ancient philosophy, the wise often said, "Let your success speak for you. Your words are only a promise." There is something sacred about working quietly without validation. When no one knows what you are doing, your motivation is pure, your energy is focused, and your hunger remains sharp. But when people begin to praise your ideas before they even see your actions, you start performing for their approval instead of your purpose. The goal becomes showing progress rather than achieving it. And that shift from inner drive to outer validation is where most people lose the game. Have you ever noticed how athletes, entrepreneurs, or artists who stay humble and quiet during their preparation often outperform those who constantly talk about their future achievements? It's because silence keeps the fire alive. The less you talk, the more pressure builds within you to make it happen. The moment you release that pressure through words and applause, the drive weakens. Think of it like a balloon. If you keep releasing air every time someone praises you, soon there's nothing left to lift you up. Gaur Gopal beautifully says, "Don't let appreciation become your addiction." When you depend too much on being praised, you start chasing attention instead of excellence. And when people stop praising, you stop performing, not because you've lost ability, but because you've lost the external fuel. True hunger doesn't need applause. It feeds on silence, struggle, and self-belief. The greatest achievers don't crave to be seen while building. They crave to be satisfied when they've built something worth seeing. Another danger of early praise is that it puts pressure on your shoulders. When everyone knows what you're planning, they start expecting results, and expectations can be heavy, sometimes so heavy that they crush your creativity. You stop experimenting, you stop learning freely, because you're afraid of looking like a failure in front of the people who praised you too soon. The fear of disappointing others replaces the joy of the journey. But when no one knows what you're doing, you are free. You can fail, learn, adapt, and grow quietly without any spotlight burning you down. There's a beautiful saying: the seed that celebrates too early forgets to grow. When you plant a seed, you don't clap for it on day one. You nurture it patiently until it grows roots. If you start celebrating before the roots are ready, the plant dies young. The same applies to our dreams. They need nourishment, not noise. Early praise makes us feel like the fruit is already ripe, and so we stop watering it. But silence keeps us grounded. It reminds us that we haven't earned the victory yet, that there's still work to be done, still mountains to climb. True satisfaction should come after effort, not before it. There's nothing wrong with feeling proud of your dreams, but let that pride come from progress, not promises. The most successful people don't chase validation at the beginning, they chase mastery. They stay hungry, humble, and hidden until their results speak louder than any words ever could. They understand that applause has an expiry date, but self-discipline lasts forever. So protect your hunger. Don't feed it with early praise. Don't let temporary appreciation steal long-term motivation. When someone asks you what you're working on, smile and say, "You'll see soon." Let curiosity replace commentary. Let mystery replace noise. Let your silence keep your hunger alive until your success is undeniable. Because when you finally arrive, the applause will be real, earned, and lasting. Not the kind that fades after the words are spoken, but the kind that stays because you proved it, not just promised it. Work speaks louder than words, a simple phrase, yet one of the deepest truths of life. We live in a time where people love to talk about what they will do, what they are planning, what they dream of, but very few actually do it. The world has become noisy with declarations, promises, and plans. Everyone is announcing their next big thing, but only a handful are quietly building it. You see, words are easy. Talking about your vision gives you a temporary sense of achievement, but work, real, consistent, disciplined work, that's what transforms ideas into reality. It's not the person who speaks the loudest who makes an impact. It's the one who silently keeps moving, one step at a time, every single day. When you look at nature, it never announces its greatness. The sun doesn't declare every morning, "I'm going to rise." It just rises every day, without fail, without words. Flowers don't post about how beautiful they'll become, they bloom in silence. The ocean doesn't tell anyone how deep it is, its depth is felt by those who enter it. Likewise, your actions, not your announcements, define your strength. The quiet worker always has the upper hand over the loud dreamer, because while one is busy talking, the other is busy creating. Gaur Gopal Das often shares stories about humility and silent progress. He says that true achievers never shout about their work, they let their results echo for them. And that echo, the sound of genuine accomplishment, lasts much longer than any self-made noise. When you do something remarkable, people will notice eventually. You don't have to demand attention, your success naturally commands it. It's like fragrance. You don't have to advertise it. It travels on its own. The problem with speaking too soon is that words can trap you. Once you say something out loud, you create expectations, both in others and in yourself. Then, instead of focusing on doing the work, you start focusing on looking like you're doing it. You spend energy maintaining an image rather than building a result. You might even start measuring progress by applause rather than by actual growth. But when you let your work speak for itself, there's no need for justification, no need for explanations. The outcome does all the talking, and that's the most powerful voice of all. People may doubt your words, but they can never doubt your results. You can tell them 100 times that you're disciplined, but one consistent action says more than 1,000 claims. You can post about how focused you are, but one tangible result will silence every critic. In fact, your quiet consistency becomes your reputation. The people who once overlooked you will begin to study you. They'll ask, how did this person manage all this without saying a word? That's when your silence becomes your strength. When your results speak a language that noise never could. Let's not forget, in every profession, in every dream, there are two types of people, the talkers and the doers. Talkers gain attention early but fade quickly. Doers work in silence and stay relevant forever. The talkers crave validation, the doers crave mastery. The talkers announce their goals, the doers achieve them. And the world, over time, always remembers the doers. Look at history. The greatest inventors, thinkers, saints, and leaders didn't constantly talk about what they were going to do next. They just did it. They let their creations, their service, their discipline be their voice. Silence in action also teaches humility. When you don't need to prove yourself through words, it means you trust your own capacity. You're no longer working for attention, you're working for excellence. You start to value the process, not the praise. You find joy in progress, not publicity. And that's when the work becomes sacred. When it's no longer about showing the world what you can do, but showing yourself what you're capable of. There's another dimension to this truth, the spiritual one. In spirituality, it's said that when your ego speaks too loudly, your growth slows down. Because ego loves to talk, but wisdom loves to do. Every time you say, I will, I can, or I'm going to, the ego feels satisfied, but the soul knows that peace lies not in words, but in action. When you silently serve, silently improve, silently grow, your spirit expands. You become grounded, peaceful, and powerful because your focus is on the doing, not the displaying. There's a quote that says, "Work so silently that success makes all the noise." Imagine how beautiful it is when people discover your accomplishments instead of hearing about your intentions. When you show up one day having already achieved something that no one even knew you were working on, that's real power. That's the kind of power that inspires without boasting, that teaches without preaching, that leads without commanding. So, let your actions do the talking. Let your silence create curiosity. Let your consistency build your reputation. You don't need to tell people who you are or what you're going to do. Your results will speak your truth louder than your voice ever could. Because at the end of the day, words fade, promises are forgotten, but work remains. It echoes beyond time. It becomes your identity, your legacy, your proof. So, speak less, do more. Work quietly, shine brightly. Because the world may forget what you said, but it will never forget what you did. Privacy is protection, not secrecy, not arrogance, not fear, but wisdom. It is one of the greatest shields you can build around your dreams, your plans, and your peace. In a world where everyone is broadcasting every moment, every emotion, every idea, privacy has become a rare and precious virtue. People think if you're quiet, you're hiding something. But the truth is, you're not hiding, you're protecting. You're protecting your focus from distraction, your energy from delusion, and your purpose from pollution. Just like a seed grows best when it's buried in the dark, your goals too need a phase of privacy before they are strong enough to face the world's light. When a farmer plants a seed, he doesn't dig it up every day to check its progress. He covers it, waters it, and trusts the process. He knows that the dark soil is not a punishment, it's protection. The same applies to your dreams. When they're in the early stages, they're fragile. They can be easily crushed by others' opinions, doubts, or negativity. That's why it's wise to keep them private until they're strong enough to stand on their own. Privacy doesn't mean you don't share anything with anyone. It means you share selectively with people who understand, support, and uplift you, not with everyone who's merely curious. Gaur Gopal often says that wise people never reveal everything, not because they're secretive, but because they understand the power of timing. When you talk too early about something sacred, it loses its sanctity. The energy that should go into building the dream escapes through words. And when too many people know your plans, their energies, both good and bad, start interacting with your vision. Some will bless it, yes, but some will question it, criticize it, or worse, compete with it. Without realizing, you've invited too many cooks into the kitchen of your destiny. Privacy keeps your recipe safe. Privacy also gives you mental freedom. When no one knows what you're doing, you can fail without fear, experiment without judgment, and grow without pressure. You can make mistakes quietly and correct them privately. But when everyone knows your next move, the pressure to appear successful becomes unbearable. You stop trying new things because you fear public failure. You stop learning because you're too busy protecting your image. Privacy liberates you from that trap. It allows you to stay authentic, to be a student, a learner, a work in progress, without needing to look perfect in front of anyone. In today's world of oversharing, many confuse attention with progress. We live in a time where people post about their workouts before building discipline, announce relationships before building trust, and reveal plans before building results. But the wise understand that some things lose their magic when exposed too soon. Privacy is not about being distant, it's about being deliberate. It's about controlling what enters and exits your personal space, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The more private you are, the more peace you preserve. Privacy also protects your energy from envy. Not everyone has a bad heart, but not everyone has a clean energy either. Some people, out of jealousy or insecurity, will project their fears onto you. They might not wish you harm directly, but their words, "Are you sure? That's risky. That's not easy," can plant invisible seeds of doubt in your mind. Those tiny doubts grow like weeds, suffocating the confidence you once had. Privacy keeps your mental garden clean. The fewer people who know, the fewer opinions you'll have to fight against. Think of the most successful people you admire, whether in business, art, or spirituality. They all mastered the art of privacy. They don't announce every step, every deal, or every idea. They let results speak when the time is right. They understand that revealing everything too soon invites unnecessary energy, expectations, pressure, gossip, or even sabotage. Privacy keeps you unpredictable, and unpredictability keeps you powerful. It's also a form of self-respect. You don't owe the world explanations for every step you take. You don't need to prove that you're doing something worthwhile. Some things are meant to be shared only when they're ready, just like a butterfly doesn't open its wings while still inside the cocoon. If it did, it would never fly. The cocoon looks dark and lonely, but that's where transformation happens. Likewise, your private moments, the hours you spend learning, practicing, struggling, failing, those are your cocoon moments. The world might not see them, but that's where you become who you're meant to be. Privacy doesn't make you cold or detached. It makes you wise and grounded. It helps you focus on your purpose instead of performing for an audience. It keeps your inner world sacred. It teaches you to live with intention, not exhibition. When you value privacy, you begin to understand the difference between sharing for connection and sharing for validation. The first builds relationships, the second drains energy. So guard your dreams the way a temple guards its flame. Protect your plans like a treasure still being shaped. Don't let the world's noise interfere with your inner voice. Remember, privacy is not a wall that keeps people out, it's a shield that keeps your peace in. When your time comes, when your dream is fully formed and unshakable, then step out and shine. Until then, stay quiet, stay focused, and stay grounded in your private space. Because what grows in silence and protection will one day bloom so beautifully that the world won't just see it, they'll feel it. Discernment, not distrust. That's the golden principle when it comes to deciding what to share and what to keep to yourself. Life isn't about shutting people out or living in suspicion. It's about learning who deserves to know what. There's a big difference between being secretive out of fear and being selective out of wisdom. Gaur Gopal often says, wisdom is not in saying everything you know, it's in knowing what not to say. That's discernment, the quiet art of protecting your peace without hardening your heart. In our eagerness to connect, we often overshare. We reveal our plans, our pain, our hopes, and our next steps to people simply because they listen or because we crave validation. But not everyone who listens has the capacity to understand. Some people hear from curiosity, not compassion. Others, though they may care, may not comprehend your journey. And what they don't understand, they may unintentionally discourage. So, discernment is not about doubting others' intentions. It's about understanding their capacity. You can love someone deeply and still know they're not the right person to share your dreams with. Imagine trying to explain your vision for a skyscraper to someone who's only ever built huts. They're not wrong. They're just limited by their perspective. If you listen to them too much, they'll convince you that your dream is too big, too risky, or too unrealistic. Discernment means recognizing that not everyone is equipped to see what you see. It means you honor their limitations without letting them limit you. You learn to say less, smile more, and walk your path quietly. Discernment also protects your emotional energy. When you share too much with too many people, you open countless doors for opinions, judgments, and energy exchange. Every person you talk to leaves an imprint, sometimes positive, sometimes not. And slowly, your clarity begins to fade. You start thinking about what others think of your plan instead of what you feel about it. The dream that once felt sacred now feels crowded. Discernment closes unnecessary doors so that your mind remains uncluttered and your focus remains intact. But discernment doesn't come overnight. It grows from experience, from being misunderstood, betrayed, or disappointed. Every time you've trusted the wrong person and felt hurt, you've gained a little more clarity about human nature. You've learned that people have layers, and not every layer deserves access to your inner world. The pain of misplaced trust becomes the teacher that builds your boundaries. The more you learn to observe people's actions rather than their words, the sharper your discernment becomes. The world often confuses guardedness with coldness. But the truth is, discernment is warmth with awareness. It's love with intelligence. It means you still care, you still give, but wisely. You know that trust isn't something to hand out like candy, it's something to build brick by brick. You stop pouring your soul into every open ear and start recognizing who can truly hold your vulnerability with care. Not everyone can handle the weight of your dreams, and that's perfectly fine. The key is to stop expecting them to. Discernment also means recognizing timing. Sometimes the person is right, but the time is wrong. Maybe they're not ready to understand yet, or maybe your idea isn't ready to be discussed. Speaking too soon can damage both relationships and dreams. So discernment helps you wait. It teaches patience, the ability to hold your truth quietly until the moment it's strong enough to be shared. Because when you share at the right time, with the right people, in the right way, it multiplies your strength. But when you share carelessly, it divides your energy. A lack of discernment often leads to emotional exhaustion. You'll notice it when you find yourself saying, "I wish I hadn't told them that," or "I didn't need to explain myself so much." Every unnecessary explanation drains a little of your inner peace. The wise don't explain everything because they don't need to. They've learned that silence is sometimes safer than speech, and mystery is sometimes stronger than clarity. They know that what's meant for them doesn't need everyone's approval. It just needs their quiet commitment. In a world that glorifies openness, discernment may seem like a wall, but it's actually a filter, one that keeps your intentions pure and your energy protected. It allows you to live with kindness without being naive, to love without losing yourself, to share without oversharing. It teaches you the balance between trust and self-respect. You stop telling everyone your next move, not because you distrust them, but because you respect the sacredness of your own journey. So, don't feel guilty for being selective. You're not being distant. You're being deliberate. You're not distrusting people. You're discerning what's best for your peace. Think of your life as a temple. Not everyone who enters will bow in reverence. Some will come to pray, others to peek, and a few to play. It's your responsibility to decide who gets access and how far they go. Discernment makes you powerful because it keeps you peaceful. It allows you to walk among people with an open heart but a protected mind. You can listen to many, learn from some, but confide in few. And when you master that, life becomes lighter, calmer, and clearer. Because the less energy you waste explaining yourself to the wrong people, the more energy you'll have left to become the right version of yourself. Surprise creates impact, and in a world where everyone is constantly broadcasting their next move, their every thought, and their every step, the power of surprise has almost become extinct. Yet, it remains one of the most effective and elegant strategies in life. When people can predict you, they can prepare for you. But when you move silently and appear unexpectedly with your results, you disarm their expectations and multiply their respect. The element of surprise isn't just a tactic, it's an art. It's a quiet, Powerful way of letting your actions announce themselves in a way that no words ever could. Think about it. What excites people in stories, in games, in life itself? It's the unexpected twist, the moment they didn't see coming. The same principle applies to your journey. When you keep your next move private and then reveal it only after you've succeeded, you create an impact that words could never achieve. People remember surprises because surprises awaken emotion, awe, admiration, curiosity, and emotion makes impressions that last. Most people lose their magic by overexposing their moves too early. They keep talking about what they are planning, their new idea, their goal, their next step. And in doing so, they remove all the suspense. The world already knows what's coming, so even if they achieve it, it doesn't feel remarkable anymore. But when you appear suddenly with a result no one expected, your success carries a sense of wonder. You haven't just achieved something, you've commanded attention without asking for it. That's the real power of silence. It allows you to strike with precision and presence. Gaur Gopal Das once said, "Those who make noise before the work need applause to stay motivated. Those who work in silence surprise the world with their success." There's deep truth in that. When you stop announcing and start doing, you take back control of your narrative. You no longer depend on people's approval to stay driven. You build in peace, and when the time comes, your results arrive like thunder, sudden, loud, and unforgettable. People won't even know when you started, how you worked, or what you sacrificed. They'll only see the outcome and say, "Wow, how did they do it?" That mystery is power. Surprise creates impact because it shifts perception. When others underestimate you, when they think you're stagnant or quiet, you gain the advantage of invisibility. They stop paying attention, they stop competing, and in that stillness, you grow faster and smarter. And when your moment arrives, your progress shocks them. The element of surprise makes your results seem even greater because they arrive unannounced. You didn't need to convince anyone, you simply showed up prepared, ready, and transformed. Look at the greatest strategists, leaders, and even athletes in history. They all understood this principle. In chess, a master never reveals their move before they make it. In war, a general never broadcasts his next plan to the enemy. In life, the wise don't talk about their next step. They let the step speak for itself. Because the moment your opponent knows your move, they can prepare their defense. The moment the world knows your plan, it begins to influence it. With opinions, jealousy, competition, or even sabotage. Silence keeps you unpredictable, and unpredictability keeps you powerful. But this isn't just about outsmarting others. It's also about protecting your own energy. When you surprise people, it means you've conserved your focus. You didn't waste time proving or explaining. You stayed concentrated, letting your actions build quietly. That concentration creates excellence. Excellence then creates impact. The impact surprises the world, and that cycle of focus, execution, and revelation becomes your power formula. The beauty of surprise is also emotional. Imagine how it feels when someone unexpectedly remembers your effort, compliments your growth, or recognizes your silent struggle. It's powerful because it wasn't demanded, it was earned. Similarly, when your success arrives without noise, it touches people differently. They respect it more because it wasn't shoved in their faces. It appeared naturally, gracefully. It showed your strength, discipline, and humility all at once. Another dimension of surprise is how it shields you from negativity. When no one knows what you're up to, no one can consciously or unconsciously send negative energy toward your goals. You avoid unnecessary competition, jealousy, or interference. People can't attack what they can't see. Silence becomes your invisibility cloak. And when you finally reveal your progress, it's too late for anyone to interfere. The work is done, the roots are strong, and the results are already blooming. In spirituality, this concept is even deeper. The divine often works in silence and surprise. Miracles don't announce themselves, they happen quietly, unexpectedly. The sunrise doesn't make noise when it appears, yet it transforms the entire world in a moment. That's how your success should be: quiet in the making, brilliant in the showing. When you cultivate the habit of moving silently, you align with that divine rhythm, doing your part faithfully, without the need for constant validation. And let's not forget, surprise also keeps you humble. When you stop talking about what you'll do, you focus on doing. You don't need to prove anything through words. You learn to value the work itself rather than the recognition it brings. You begin to enjoy the process of self-improvement quietly, without comparison. And then, one day, you look back and realize how far you've come, without applause, without attention, just through consistent, quiet effort. That realization is the sweetest surprise of all, the one you give yourself. So move like the wind, invisible but powerful. Work like the roots, unseen but essential. Grow like the dawn, quiet but unstoppable. Let the world underestimate you, ignore you, even forget about you. Because when you reappear with the fruits of your silent labor, your success won't just impress, it will inspire. People will talk not because you told them to, but because your results demanded it. That's the magic of surprise. It multiplies respect, magnifies impact, and turns your silence into a statement the whole world can hear.